Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today's guest, it's a friend. One day I'll start one of these and I'll say today's guest is an old enemy. He's a comedian, actor, singer, ladies and gentlemen, Jason Manford.
Hello.
Wow, look at that. You are clear as day, as a bell. Thanks for doing this. You and I have known each other a long time, and when you live near here, I'm in Twickenham, sort of Teddington area. You live near here, and we could meet up for coffee, and
That feels
we
like
did.
a
And
lifetime ago.
now you've scurried back to the north, where I'm told they carry you shoulder high in the streets. And we had been trying to arrange a get together. And then it occurred to me, I said, well, let's just wait and let's have our
Why not use our
get
friendship
together on this.
for online game?
No, but it's a bit like, when you're going to see your parents, you're going to see them at the weekend, and then they phone and start having a chat. You say, well, let's just save it.
Don't waste it. Don't have nothing. Yeah, exactly. No, it's nice. It's just nice to talk to people, isn't it? It's just, and what I liked about you actually, right early on in the first lockdown, was you were one of the first people who were straight onto FaceTime. So instead of phoning, it was straight onto FaceTime. That was like that was in like the March as well. Like you were an early adopter of all this, and it does make a difference. Like actually seeing people.
I think I knew that in my circle of friends, it would give them all a little lift to see my cheeky face.
It absolutely did.
So how are you doing?
We've sort of had this delayed work done at our house, which has obviously been delayed because of all the things going on. And as you know, those things are like a money pit at the best of times as well. So you sort of, these builders who are great fun, and they're really brilliant at their job. And I have a laugh with them. But after a while, you're like, I feel like they're going to be in our family photos. I feel like when they eventually do go, I'll be like still saying little jokes in the kitchen, and then nobody will laugh. I'll be like, oh, Dan the Tyler would have loved that. Like it's sort of, they just become part of your life,
Do you quite like having an audience
miss it.
there? Are you able to try stuff out on them?
I have done actually. But even this morning, actually, one of the lads came in and said, I was half listening, I had the radio on. We're having some like coving put on this, in one of the rooms, like in your lovely house, some coving.
You're having
That's the mistake I made. He come in, he said, "There's a fella at the door with COVID." I said, "Send him away." Yeah, a bit of COVID. It's been nice having different people, but I'll be glad when it's done and we can just live in our house. That'd be nice.
See, we've had when we've had stuff done to the house, it was a few years ago now, and you get to know the team of people, and if you're lucky, you get on with them, and we did. But I was always aware if I would ever make what I was hoping was a witty comment, you can't totally trust the laugh that comes back because these people are in your employ and it's in their interest to chuckle.
Yes. Yeah, I know what you mean. I had a moment with ours. One of the lads, I'd not heard at all. He'd not really said any words at all to me, and for ages. And I was about like, he never sort of came in and chatted. And I thought, at some point, one of the bosses had sort of said to him, "Look, don't make a big deal of the fact that the guy's on telly or anything like that. Like that's not why we're here." And it was all that, which is very nice, And then once I was sort of in a room with him, and he was sort of doing some work, and I was just in the corner, and out of nowhere he went, "So is comedy art?" I thought it's a random, from just this 22-year-old joiner. I said, well, the thing is, Josh, I guess, any expression of human creative skill and imagination, especially in a visual form or an oral form, whether it's painting or sculptures or whatever, and it's been appreciated by an audience for its emotional power. That emotion in this instant is laughter. I guess you could say it's a branch of art, the same as painting or music, literature and dance. And he said, "No, is it hard? Is comedy hard?"
Oh, that's good. You shouldn't waste that on this podcast, Jason. Save that for the next tour. Just before this whole storm hit, I was going to say shitstorm, but we're not that sort of a program. You were doing this Candor and Ebb musical called Curtains, and my take on it is that it was going
Yeah,
great
we'd
guns.
we've done really well, considering it was one of those shows that everyone kept saying, "Oh, this is not going to do well here," because it's very American. But it was a laugh, it was a murder mystery and it was a comedy and it had all that. But it had that Candor and Ebb vibe, some great songs. And David Hyde Pierce played the role on Broadway, and but it'd never been done here, so it was really exciting to do a Boston detective,
Yeah.
and be a real sort of Columbo. I really enjoyed it, and well,
What
I
sort of
didn't
voice
go
did you
full
ascribe
sort
to the
of,
role?
park the car in the Harvard car park. Like, I didn't go full hard Boston. I played Leo Bloom a few years ago in Producers, so I wasn't
Mm.
far away from that really, which was a bit higher than I would talk. I remember singing the song a little bit higher than I normally would. Lunch counter mornings and coffee shop nights. But it was just a laugh. It was just a bloody laugh, and it was a lovely group of people. We were in full flow. We'd managed to get into the West End. We had 4 weeks 5 weeks in the West End, and then we went back out on tour, and we'd had a couple of really big weeks. Like Liverpool Empire had just sold out every night, and Blackpool was doing well. We were like, "Oh my god,
Wow.
this is great!" And there was talks of it carrying on, and then maybe getting back into London. And God,
Gone. You did Chitty Bang Bang. Now, how
that was the
long did you
longest
tour that
musical I've
for?
ever done. Actually, that was over 18 months. I started off, I think, when we started rehearsals at something like 17 stone, and I finished at like 14 and a half. Like, it was the old
Wow.
bamboo and the running
Wow.
around, and there was some bits where you would be on this side of the stage and you had to get to that side, but the only way to do it in these old theatres is through a series of underground tunnels. I remember once on the
Yes.
WhatsApp group, I said to the rest of the cast, right, 20 quid for the person who gets nearest to how many steps I do during my track. And I think I put my Fitbit in my shoe or something, somewhere hidden. And when we worked it, I can't remember the steps, but it was something like 3 miles. Like, when I actually went to
Really?
count it up, it was nuts. Yeah.
Those young actors must have been giddy with excitement at the thought of 20 quid
Oh,
coming their way from you, the rich bloke off the telly. 20 quid? Why don't you make it 100? Be a
can't
little
be
bit,
flash around. You've got to be
woo.
like everybody else. You know what I mean? Oh, my first musical was Sweeney Todd. That was just an advert I'd seen in Spotlight. Like, it wasn't. No one came looking for Jason Manford to play an opera singing barber.
The one you did with Michael
Yeah,
Ball and Imelda Staunton was an
yeah.
advert you
So
saw in Spotlight.
that's where all the jobs are. And it come in. We need.
Oh,
Well, it was because they just needed someone to fill in for Pirelli. Pirelli was a guy called, is he called Jason John Burt, or anyway, he's a proper opera singer, and he was off to Italy to do some opera for 10 weeks over the 2012 summer when the Olympics was in and all that. So somebody at my agent's office said, "Oh, Jason, you could do this." And I said, "I'd love to." And I'd done some opera singing training, and I thought I could do this. So I went to these auditions. They were a bit like, why are you here? Like, this is not for you. This is just for. I said, I'd just love to do it.
yeah.
I did about 5 auditions, and I ended up getting this job. They were like, look, there's no extra money in this just because you're on telly. And this is what it costs. And I said, no, that's fine. That's what I just want to do it. And then when I actually saw the money, I was like, oh, okay, because I don't live in London. So I had to find myself somewhere to live. I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I was like, is there any extra money for accommodation? They were like, yeah, £150 a week. And I was like, and which hotel is this? So anyway, I couldn't find anywhere, and it was, you imagine, right in the middle of the Olympics as well. Can't find anywhere to stay
Yeah.
in London. So in the end, through a series of friends and phone calls and stuff, somebody said, "Look, so someone knew the manager at the Waldorf. They did me a deal, so it meant that I could stay in the Waldorf hotel for 10 weeks, like a really posh Alan Partridge, and it was amazing. It wasn't like the best, it was like a little room that they they couldn't sell to anyone else, but it was a dream, and it's like 2 minute walk from the theatre. I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is a treat.
Yeah.
Nobody would know I was getting this. It was like a couple £100 a week. Like, it was a really good deal, to stay in this hotel.
What, you paid a couple of hundred
Yeah,
pounds a
yeah,
week to
yeah.
stay
It
at
was
the
mad.
Waldorf?
Yeah, absolutely mad. I think, yeah, whatever it
Wow.
worked out, £500 a week, I think, something like that. But some nights, we'd finish the show and I'd be with the rest of the cast and I got on with the ensemble because my character was dead by 8:30. So I'd often be sat there just watching telly with the with the swings up in the dressing rooms, and then just wait for me bow. 2 hours later. And then at the end of the night, we'd leave the theatre, and we'd all walk past the Waldorf, and I would carry on walking with them, even though that's where I was staying. But I was so embarrassed that I was staying here that I would pretend that I'd be like, "Oh, I'm just down here," and I'd wait for a few to right. I'm just down here, guys, and then I would like double back on myself to go and stay in this fancy hotel that I was getting a deal on. So it's sort of like inverse snobbery, where you think you don't want people to think you're showing off or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
The idea is you've done quite well, right? You've made some money. You had a very working class upbringing in
yeah,
Salford,
yeah,
and now here you are, hobnobbing this, that, and the other. But your brother, a bit like what we were saying earlier, where he said, you talk about hard work, well, you're not
yeah,
doing
yeah.
this, you're not doing that. How has your brother reacted to you now over lockdown, not being able to do what you normally do? Has he come out with what's his attitude been?
Yeah, I mean, he is actually, as we all do in stand up, like with all comedians, we exaggerate these truths. So sometimes I would get like his wife is always like, do you have to keep using Stephen as your like, as your go to guy? I'm like, he does do these things. Though. All I've done is exaggerate them. I've not. I don't make them up.
Yeah.
We did play football once, and he did get upset because he bought a brand new pair of shin pads, and when he opened them, he thought one was large and one was irregular, and I was like, "That's left and right, Steve." Like this, I'm not making this up. These are things that have happened.
I don't think I've met him. Was he there that night we went to that fireworks display?
No, he
I
wasn't.
met your mum and dad, didn't I?
You met mum and dad, yeah, and they were on their best behaviour that night. Yeah, no, my dad's always on his best behaviour, but my mum has embarrassed me so many times in front of people. She once got thrown out of my gig.
Why?
Oh, man. I think it might have been the first time I'd played the Manchester Arena. And so I said to my parents, look, I want you to come and enjoy this gig. I want you to come along, bring some friends. I've managed to get you one of the corporate boxes, which you have to pay for, even though you're the performer. It holds 16 people. So invite 14 of your closest friends and family. Eat what you want, drink what you want. I'll cover the bill. I'll cover the bill. That's what I said. But what my mum heard was free. They got absolutely hammered. So drunk in the first half. I mean, I was getting heckled in an arena. It's a nightmare. Anyway, I sort of got to the interval and my tour manager, Gordon, he said, Jason, I've just stopped a bottle of brandy going into your parents' box. And I said, don't worry about it, Gordon. If they want to drink brandy, I'm fine with that. He said, it's their fourth bottle. I said, how 16 people drunk nearly 4 bottles of brandy in a 45-minute first half? It turns out, in the arena itself, I had hundreds of family and friends in there. It holds 16,000 people. My mum's one of 11, so she had, cousins and children and all people were in there. She'd been texting them, ringing them. Don't bother going to the bar.
Oh, no.
Come to this box. It's all for free. She's giving them drinks. She's hiding people in the toilet. She gets told off by security. There's neighbouring boxes complaining about the noise and the chat coming from this box, which is my own family. Afterwards, I come off stage and I come down the little steps. And as I'm walking down these steps, I see 4 security guards holding my mother up. And she's like going, no, and I know him. I know him. My dad's the same. He's like a sloth, just like hammered. Just like... The manager of the arena comes over to me and he says, great gig, Jay. So nice to have you here. He said, I've just got to tell you before you go. He says, your family, and this is a direct quote, Rob. He said, your family were the worst behaved family of any performer we've ever had. And then he paused and he went, and we have the Pogues. Like that was his level before our family got there.
I think we did the right thing in saving our catch-up. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
I hope to see you in the flesh soon, but let's do a private as well, so we can really
slag off some people and that.
Bitch about people. Yeah, that'll be good. Jason, I'm a huge fan. You're a lovely man. Glad you're my friend. See you soon, buddy.
See you soon. Love to the family.
I never used buddy. I don't know why I said that. I'm not even going to retake it. I'm just going to say it again, and I'm going to leave all this in because I'm not a buddy kind of guy. Okay?
No.
I like you. There we are.